The summer break is over. We are heading towards the halfway point of the season for the ADAC GT4 Germany. Hello everybody, welcome to the Nürburgring. Well, the summer break is over. It feels like the summer's over. The memories of the hot and sweaty Zandvoort are disappearing into the distance. Instead, we have the wet and the murky conditions here at the Nürburgring. It has been dry for much of the day. The cars came onto the grid getting ready for race 5 of the season. Then the heavens absolutely opened. There was a big rush for a number of the teams changing to wet weather tyres, but now they've done all that. The rain has stopped. The notification has been given that the race will start behind the safety car, but the question is, do the drivers stay on the wet tyres or do they take the gamble on the slicks? I'm looking out of my commentary box window. It does look like the rain has stopped. I'm pretty sure I saw the team of FK Performance changing the Moritzen BMW for slick tyres, but I can also see other cars in front of me that are on wet weather tyres. You can see the air temperature is 17.8 degrees. The track is the same. There's very little wind at the moment. The conditions are very changeable here at the Nürburgring. This is going to be a real race of keeping it together and keeping it on the track. You can see Hugo Sasser, our pole sitter, with the wet weather tyres on his Aston Martin. He had a great qualifying session this morning and put that car on pole position. Starting alongside him, another of the Aston Martins, this time for ADAC Motorsport, with Ben Dorr at the wheel. You can see wet weather tyres are the choice there. I think it really would be a brave person who starts on slick tyres in these conditions. This is the revelation car. Yes, Aston Martin 1, 2, 3 on the grid, but Raphael Renhofer here as a guest starter in the number 19 Pro Sport Racing car. He's only 16 years old. He's come from karting. His debut in car racing was only this year. It was a mass sport race in Zolder, driving a Chevrolet Cruze, something very different to an Aston Martin Vantage. And he has been towards the top of the timing sheets all the way through free practice and qualified third. He is going to be tested in these conditions, as indeed is Jan-Philipp Springer in the CV Performance Group Mercedes. They were leading the points championship going into Zandvoort, but a disastrous weekend saw them drop all the way down to 4th place, he and his co-driver, to 5th place in fact. Denis Bulatov is our current championship leader after a great race at Zandvoort, jumped to the top of the standings along with co-driver Marcel Lenez. There is another guest starter. We welcome Brock Gilchrist in the Toyota GR Supra, making it 2 Toyotas on the grid for KCMG. They are drivers that have come from New Zealand. They've come a long way here to the Nürburgring, having won the Toyota 86 Championship out there along with co-driver Ryland Gray, who was the rookie champion in that series, and they are joining. Part of their prize for winning that championship is to come over to Europe and to race at the Nürburgring this weekend for the Hong Kong team KCMG Toyota. And they have been very quick indeed in practice, in free practice and in qualifying, really taking to the GT4 category very much indeed. And their team boss has said this is their chance to race and perform on what is a very big international platform of the GT Championship, and a great boost for their careers. So the engines are running, the lights are on. I think most of the cars are on wet weather tyres. Now, normally, tyre changes would not be allowed in ADAC GT4 Germany, but because it has been declared wet, they will be allowed to start on the wet tyres and change for slicks as conditions and if conditions dry up. We're part of the DTM package here at Nürburgring. A big crowd here to witness some exciting racing for the ADAC GT4 Germany, race 5 of a 12 race season at the Nürburgring using this sprint circuit. It's a circuit that is 3.629 kilometers around, 11 turns, 4 to the left and 7 to the right. Fairly tricky for overtaking in the dry conditions, and even more so in the wet. The best overtaking opportunity is into turn 1, but it is also a corner where we see a lot of incidents. It's a downhill drop and a sharp turn, and it's very easy to get it wrong. You can see the cars are moving, and you can see the clock is counting down. So the race has effectively started. This is 1 hour of racing plus 1 lap, and we are having a rolling start. Let's have a look at the grid. Hugo Sassa and Ben Dorr making it an Aston Martin front row. Rafael Renhofer joining us, also an Aston Martin alongside Jan-Philipp Springhoff. Dennis Bolotov, championship leader, with the guesting Brock Gilchrist alongside in the Toyota Supra. Then David Yarn in the Porsche with Cedric Pirro, the other of the Toyotas, alongside. Nicola Molomadsen, former champion, lines up with Josef Knopp alongside him, and Alex Connor and Philip Gogolok line up on row 6. Row 7, Alex Hartvig is joined by Daniel Greger, an all-Porsche row, and Stefan Bostanchiev and Patrick Steinmetz line up on row 8 of the grid. Row 9, Max Kronberg and Nico Hanke, a lot of work to do from there for them. And on row 10, Max Wimmer and Celia Martin, part of the all-female team of Pro Sport Racing. Mikael Makesh and Sami Matti-Trogan line up at all BMW row 11 with Christian Koch and Mo Ritson. They're struggling to find pace in that car this weekend on row 12. Leon Vassather and Joachim Bolting line up on row 13. On row 14, Marat Kairov and Matthias Nuramo, both Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMWs. Bringing up the rear, GoPro SRO, Damon Sazishin in the Pro Sport Aston Martin. So, safety car is coming through the chicane. We've had no notification yet as to whether the safety car will come in on this lap or not. The lights remain on at the moment, so the race is on, but strictly no overtaking. As you can see, safety car is staying out. A very sensible decision. As already mentioned, the surface here at the Nürburgring is pretty slippery, even in the dry. And in these conditions, what we want to do is get all the cars around the first lap if we possibly can. Also, giving the drivers an opportunity to try and get some heat into the tyres and into the brakes. So lots of weaving through the mist. The headlights are burning, and the cars not allowed to overtake, following each other behind the safety car. So expect we will have certainly at least a lap, maybe more. Let's take a look at the points. As mentioned, Dennis Bolotov, Marceau Lenez jumping to the top. Nico Hanke and Mex Janssen staying in second place, just 2 points adrift, but a great Zandvoort saw Bolotov and Lenez to the top. David Yarn, Janis Fitcher, just 3 points off the championship lead. So it really is very close indeed. Our pole sitters, Hugo Sassa, along with co-driver Mike David Ortman, are 16 points away from them in fourth place, so very much in contention. And Simon Conner-Prim and Jan-Philipp Springhoff, who were doing so well after the opening round and were at the top of the points, have dropped all the way down to 5th place after Zandvoort, after a fairly troublesome couple of races. We'll be looking to come back from that. They are 21 points adrift. Leon Vassather and Tim Reiter currently in 6th place, but it is all to play for. Jan-Philipp Springhoff starting on what would have been the outside second row, but in 4th place, and currently running in 4th place. So a good chance to make up some points, but Hugo Sassa really needed that pole position. You can see from the graphic on your screen, safety car is in on this lap. So now Hugo Sassa will back the field up, and we will be getting ready to go racing. The safety car lights off, disappears into the distance, and Sassa now needs to find a bit of a gap from behind the safety car. There is Ben Dorr ready to try and anticipate that start, but keep an eye also on Rafael Renhofer. What an impressive qualification from him. Out of the final corner, the cars are about to come. They will be on to the pit straight. We are getting ready for race 5 of the season for the ADAC GT4 Germany, and we are go. And it's Hugo Sassa who has has taken the start very well, has caught Ben Dur a little bit and opened up a gap as they crossed the line. That's exactly what he wanted to do. Now into turn one, Ben Dur taking a completely different line into the corner. Everybody tiptoeing into what is a slippery section of the track. Denis Bulatov going a little bit wide, as indeed is David Yarn. The rest of the cars making their way through. It looks like we've pretty well got everybody through that corner. There is Denis Bulatov in the Mercedes, having jumped to the top of the point standings. Will be carrying a successor ballast as a result of that. Rafael Renhofer already coming under pressure, but doing a sterling job keeping that car pointing in the right direction with so little experience. The two Mercedes behind, so Denis Bulatov and Jan-Philipp Springhoff running together. It really is absolute tips of the fingers here as they circulate around the first few corners of this track up towards turn 6 and 7 they come, and challenges for position, but you have to be so careful. There is so little grip. Cars 9 and 5 have been instructed to change positions, as Leon Wasserthurer and Joachim Bolting, so the race director deciding that they had not started the race correctly. Here we go, tiptoeing through the puddles. Renhofer with Springhoff and Yarn behind, and Denis Bulatov. There's David Yarn in the blue and white Porsche. And to complete a lap across the line they come. So Denis Bulatov behind David Yarn in the 5th place. So Yarn using his experience, and he is a very experienced pilot, to good effect to jump up into that 5th place, making up 2 positions on this opening lap. These are conditions that clearly he is relishing. Jan-Philipp Springhoff in 4th place as well, but keep an eye on David Yarn now up into 3rd place. David Yarn really making great progress in that Porsche. Around turn 1 they come again. It's a fairly downhill section of the track. This is the view on board with Stefan Bostanchiev in the Overdrive Racing Porsche, and it looks as though he may have got together with Max Kronberg in the number 30 Porsche. And then bumping across the curbing of the chicane we come. Some great replays here. Drivers trying to push so hard. Normally the opening laps of a race are a great opportunity to make up positions, but you have to tiptoe. So car 9 has a penalty lap for overtaking during the safety car. Penalty lap for Joachim Bolting. He has to pass through the penalty box, which is on the exit of turn 1 at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. It's a 200-meter box, and that is the penalty for overtaking under the safety car. Now look at the lead. The Hugo Sasser has pulled out over Ben Dur. Here comes Sasser now into the chicane, being very careful not to overshoot the turn 9 and turn 10. There is Ben Dur in the 007 themed car. Then the very impressive Rafael Renhofer, followed by David Yarn in there, as well as Jan-Philipp Springhoff, who is ahead of David Yarn. So Springhoff in that 4th place. Across the line they come, out on to the pit straight. And it's he who dares win. A bit of drifting there for the BMW out of the corner. And really grip at an absolute premium here. Here is 3rd place. Rafael Renhofer holding it together. Jan-Philipp Springhoff, David Yarn there, Denis Bulatov. Well, he had to endure a 3-place grid drop as a result of his co-pilot, Marcel Lenez, speeding in the pit lane during free practice. So, in fact, he did qualify further up the grid. He qualified 2nd, but had a 3-place drop as a result of that speeding issue. You can see drivers still challenging up and down the pack. And it's Nicola Moller-Madsen who has found a route past Gilchrist in the 86 car, Brock Gilchrist. And this is for 8th place. So Brock Gilchrist, we'll get that right, is just having to learn this the hard way. What a debut in GT4 racing in these conditions. But finally overtaken by Josef Knopp, but fighting back in the Mercedes versus the Toyota. The 2 Toyotas together on the track now with Cedric Pirot in the number 12 Pirot Motorsport car. And there is two cars getting together. It's a spin into the barriers. It's car 30 that goes in. That is Max Kronberg. And also one of the BWT Mucker cars, that would have been Alex Connor. So the number 18 car of Alex Connor, safety car, is going to be back out. They just lost traction coming out of the corner into the barriers. They went. Safety car is out. So that big gap that Hugo Sassa had built up of nearly 3.5 seconds over second place is reduced to nothing. A lot of damage to Max Kronberg's Avia WNS Motorsport Porsche there, and the Mercedes-Benz also looking a little bit second-hand as well for BWT Mucker Motorsport. So you can see the tyre barrier has had a bit of damage, so that is under investigation by our race stewards. The safety car is out, and once again, let's have a look here in the background, and it just looks like Connor getting out wide on the corner and clips the number 30 car, and into the fence they both go. So maybe just the conditions getting the best. This is a great view from Bastanchiev. You can see the view looking out of the window. And the two cars were running side by side. Kronberg was on the outside. Well, it's really hard to know what happened there. Connor certainly getting into Kronberg. It just looked like he was a little bit eager getting into that corner. Of course, in dry conditions, you'd be able to pick that up and correct it. But in these conditions, absolutely no traffic traction. And the red flag is out. So the clock will be stopped. And the cars are going to be brought back to the grid. The issue being that the fence is damaged. You can see the tyre barrier there has been damaged. So the red flags are out. And the cars are going to be brought back to a stop. And everything comes to a halt. There's Alex Connor walking back to the pits. A real shame, because Alex and his co-driver, Emil Yedrum, have had a really good debut in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Had a 6th place on their first race at Oschersleben. And have followed that up with points finishes in all bar one race this season. Of course, they're not going to be scoring any points here at the Nürburgring this afternoon. So the red flags are out. The rain, well, you can see it on the camera lens, but as far as I can see, it looks as though it has pretty well stopped coming down now. So the track will probably dry out a bit. Most of these cars on wet weather tyres. And there is the number 30 car being dragged away, but the attention is going to have to be given to the fence. Of course, safety is paramount here, and with the tyre barrier up in the air like that, we need to get that corrected. So the car's brought back to the grid. Now, what would normally happen in this race is that there would be a pit window that would open at 25 minutes into the race. That pit window would remain open for 10 minutes, close again 35 minutes into the race, and during that pit window, every car would need to visit the pit lane for a mandatory stop and driver change. That will still happen, but it may not happen at 25. We'll see what the race director tells us. They may move the pit window depending on what happens here. We're running to a fairly tight schedule here at the Nürburgring, so it is possible. You can see the clock has stopped, but it is possible that the race may be reduced in length depending on how quickly they can sort things out with the barrier. You can see a big crowd here at the Nürburgring this weekend. They've been enjoying DTM racing. They've been enjoying Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. We've also had the BMW M2 Cup and also the electric Next Gen Cup, the young drivers in the minis. They have been thoroughly entertaining here at the Nürburgring. So red flags mean that the teams can work on the cars, and it might be this is the opportunity for some of the teams to switch them back to slick tyres, because this is effectively a free pit stop, and you can see it there, the tyres all coming out on the trolleys. Here comes the cherry picker, ready to do its work, probably to remove the Mercedes first and then to get the fence back together. Look at those slick tyres. So they did all line up on the grid originally with slick tyres, then the rain came and they all rushed to change them to wets. Now the slicks come back out again. And I would imagine that pretty well everybody's going to want to start on slick tyres once this race gets back going. You can see that the rain has stopped, and you can see there are a few dry patches starting to appear on the circuit. So the race will be resumed at 15:39 local time. It's currently 15:29, so we have a 10-minute break before we can get back under racing conditions. So it gives us a good opportunity to take stock. Not so much for the team. They are all working hard here, getting everything back together and getting the cars onto the right tyre at the right time. You see Patrick Steinmetz in the number 84 car. He is sharing driving duties with Ferdinand Winter, and where was he in the timing sheets? Down in 16th place, so just out of the points. And there we get a good look at the Toyota Supra, the number 86 car with Brock Gilchrist at the wheel. I mentioned it briefly at the start. The KCMG Toyota Supra is entered by Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand, and the motorsport manager Nicholas Kaioli he's someone who is committed to developing and nurturing New Zealand's next generation of world-class drivers. And he says this is their chance to race and perform well in a highly competitive international GT championship. Could be the next step in their career. The two drivers of that car are staying in Europe for 12 days and will also visit the Toyota Gazoo Racing Europe HQ in Cologne, which is about an hour down the road. So Brock Gilchrist, who won the Toyota 86 Championship in New Zealand, and Rylan Gray, who won the Rookie Championship. He is an Australian, and Brock Gilchrist is from New Zealand. And they really have impressed here this weekend, and I really hope we're going to see more of them as they progress up the motorsport ladder, because they have shown that they really are very capable, and also show what these series, like the Toyota 86 series, how good they are. There's Simon Connor Prim stood at the side of the car. He's a driver who is second in the Junior Championship. Hello, Simon. Good to see you. Had that disastrous Zandvoort event. But in between then and now, he actually raced in a GT Masters here at the Nürburgring 3 weeks ago, and was very impressive indeed, finishing very well, scoring good points. And Simon Connor Prim just showing what a good pilot he is, and very much a contender for the championship here in the ADAC GT4 Germany. So yeah, Simon Connor Prim, I've been calling him Simon for way too many years, finally got it right. Sharing with Jan-Philipp Springhoff, the CV Performance Group Mercedes has proven to be a great car for them. They have worked really well with it, and have really gelled as a driver partnership as well, and are definite contenders for the championship here in the ADAC GT4. And but for that trauma in the 2 races at Zandvoort last time out, would have been in a lot better position than they are now. But the season, still plenty to go on it. And I'll just check in. It is Simon Connor Prim along with Maximilian Paul, who's racing in DTM. They finished in 3rd place in the first race in the GT Masters. GT3, an altogether tougher category. There's Mike David Ortman, who shares with Hugo Sasser, looking very relaxed. He was at the wheel of something very different. Well, he wasn't driving it, but yesterday, a wonderful initiative from the ADAC. Oh, still wet tyres on the number 1 car, so they haven't changed those yet. So yesterday, after free practice for the DTM, the ADAC had 3 coaches come onto the track with guests on board the coaches for the track safari. The coaches circulated slowly off the racing line, a couple of laps at slow speed. And meanwhile, all the DTM GT3 cars came out on track and put on quite a show. Lots of acceleration and deceleration and driving close to the coaches. It was spectacular. It has been a very, very popular initiative from the ADAC to get people closer to the cars. You might ask, well, what's Mike David Ortman got to do with that? He was on the front coach. He was doing commentary All right, watch out, look over your shoulders, and my job might be under threat. So he was talking to all the other people on the coach, telling them what was going on. Meanwhile, we had all the DTM drivers coming past the coaches. It was truly spectacular. Worth checking out the ADAC socials and website for pictures. It's quite unusual to see all these GT3 cars weaving in and out of coaches going around here at the Nürburgring, but it was very entertaining, an experiment by the ADAC, which I think will probably be repeated, and I think there'll be an awful lot of people who will want to get involved in that in future because it really was spectacular. There's the 007 car, Ben Dur, who is sharing with Theo Noe. Theo, who was steaming after Oschersleben. I tried to talk to him, that was a bad idea. Had damage to the oil cooler in the first race and was unable to even start the second race. But at Zandvoort, a 17th place and a 13th place. So I've really under-delivered because Theo Noe is an ex-contender for the championship in the ADAC GT4 and Ben Dur as well in that 007 Aston Martin. So getting on the front row today, this is where their championship campaign really gets underway. Now, really good that our cameras are giving us that perspective of the tyres. You can see that certainly the front runners are staying on the wet. So we saw the teams going out with the slick tyres. I haven't actually seen anybody put any on yet. The other kind of tyres, the ones for safety, are being manoeuvred into place by our wonderful, hard-working crews here around the circuit. The marshals, who stand out in all conditions, and we have all conditions here at Nürburgring. That's a nice close-up of Mo Ritson. He, along with Tom Wood, his co-pilot for the FK Performance BMW, were very frustrated because they just could not find the pace in that BMW during quali this morning. Qualified 24th, have dropped down to 26. I was looking out of the commentary box window at the start, and it looked to me like they might be putting slicks on the BMW, but I may be very wrong about that. But whatever it is, it's going to be a long afternoon for Mo Ritson and Tom Wood from 26th on the grid, so they're going to have to do a lot of work from there. I'm just looking at the timing screens. Mikhail Makash in the number 54 BMW also had a troubled start to the race. He started in 21st, but is now down in 27th, so clearly had drama at the start of that. You can see how wet it was. This place does dry out quickly, and this could be a race that is won and lost on strategy. We are but 2 minutes away from the resumption of this race. I'm sad to say I can't see what tyres are being put on the cars from where my commentary position is, but we're probably going to find out fairly quickly when we get rolling again in a couple of minutes, and it'll be Hugo Sasser who leads them back across the line. So, just to summarise, when the red flags came out, it was Hugo Sasser, along with Mike David Orman, who are the defending champions in the ADAC GT4 Germany, looking to be the first driver pairing to successfully defend a championship in this series. It was Sasser that's leading, ahead of Ben Dur. It is the number 19, Raphael Renhofer, in third place, ahead of Jan Philipp Springhoff. David Jahn, who was really making the best progress, in fifth place, and Dennis Bulatov, local driver who lives in Cologne, not that far from here, ahead of Nicola Moller-Madsen, a former champion in GT4, and Josef Knopp ahead of Brock Gilchrist, who we've spoken about already, and Cedric Pirro rounding out the top 10. You can see the 1 minute board has been given, and as you'd expect, the race will be resumed under the safety car. We'll keep you updated on what will happen as far as the pit window goes. The pit stop, the 10-minute window, the drivers have a minimum pit stop time when they come in. It is 95 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. If they go below that 95 seconds, they may well find themselves with a penalty. And of course, the trick is to try and get in and get out at smack on 95 seconds so you don't lose any time out on track. But if you run it too close, then you are going to pick up a penalty. It is a mandatory stop for a driver change. As I've said already, tyre changes not normally permitted, but in these wet conditions, if the track is starting to dry up, we may well see tyre changes once the pit window opens. Right, the clock has started running, so our race director has not adjusted the time, so I would expect the pit window to remain 25 minutes into the race. We haven't had an indication yet as to how many laps we'll have behind the safety car. It could be 1 or it could be 2, but this is important for the drivers. They've been sat on the grid for the last 10 minutes with everything cooling down, so this is a critical time now to get the heat back into those tyres and back into those brakes. Hugo Sassa will be looking to do something very similar that he did last time to Ben Dur and try and open up that big gap. Safety car will be in at the end of this lap, we have been told. So the safety car will disappear into the distance shortly, and it will be Hugo Sassa's job to decide when to hit the accelerator and when to go. We're just around turn 5 of this 11-corner circuit at the moment, heading out towards turn 6. And you can see, well, it looks to me like the track has dried up quite significantly. Maybe not so much there. The one thing about the Nürburgring, a characteristic of it, is that you can have different weather in different parts of the circuit, and where it's dry on one part, it might be wet on another, and the drivers that are running wet weather tyres will struggle, if it remains dry, to get to the end of the race without a tyre change, because those wet weather tyres will start to break up once they get hot on a dry track surface. You can see that now Hugo Sassa has backed the pack up. The safety car has disappeared off into the distance. They're heading towards the chicane now, turns 9 and 10, which is the Vidal chicane. And that is the quick left and the right. Racing speed, they disregard the curbs and normally just fly over them. So now up in towards turn 11 we come. It's Hugo Sassa who splashes through the puddles out onto the pit straight, and we are back under racing conditions. 46.5 minutes remaining of this ADAC GT4 Germany. The rest of the cars coming through the mist, and once again a good start from Hugo Sassa. Ben Dur, well, he's probably stayed with him a lot better than he did on the previous start, but they've got to tiptoe around, particularly this first corner. It is a very slippery corner. A lot of drivers taking it very deep into that corner, with the exception of the Allied Racing Porsche that you saw taking a much tighter line. That would be Alex Hartwig. Well, he's a brave one, isn't he? And around they come, just again, driving with the fingertips, trying to make sure that you don't trip up, you don't do anything stupid, and you just make it around that first lap. Philip Gogolok, also there, we saw him ahead of Alex Hartwig. That's in 11th place. But he who dares wins. Who is going to duck off the racing line into potentially slippery territory and try to make a move? Well, Gogolok was looking to the inside of Cedric Pirot there, and that was for 10th place. Sassa looks to have this under control at the moment. Phil Dur just solid in second place. Look at the dry patches appearing on the track, and Sassa already ducking off into the wet parts of the track to try and keep the tyres cool. This is a challenge for position. It's Jan-Philipp Springop on the outside, and Nikolai Moller-Madsen there as well. That's the view from Dennis Bulatov, and around Nikolai Moller-Madsen goes, so a bit of contact. He goes spinning around, he drops down, he's able to rejoin, so he's kept it out of the barrier. He's now getting mugged by the rest of the pack. He did well to pick that up and point it in the right direction as quick as he did, but that's Cedric Pirot there. And also Philip Gogolok, who are now around him, and he continues on his way, having lost those positions. Sassa, well, he's opened up about a second from Ben Dur. And now challenges for positions. Dennis Bulatov, now the track is starting to dry up a bit, starting to look a bit eager behind Jan-Philipp Springop, who is running in that 5th place. Now let's have a look here. And getting together with the 85 car of Jan-Philipp Springop is Nicola Moller-Madsen, who went spinning. And we'll keep an eye to see whether the stewards decide there was any punishment to be dished out to that. It looked to me, were a little bit like 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Real shame, because Nicola Moller-Madsen had been making some pretty good progress from his 9th place starting position, looking down at the slippery chicane, a very uphill section of the track, and it wasn't until I tried to run up it last night you realise how steep it actually is. But the two cars getting together, Bulatov having to back out of it as well so as to not get involved. As expected, the stewards are taking a look at that, and we'll keep you updated if there are any punishments to be dished out. But in these conditions, you've got to maybe make a few more allowances. So there is Cedric Pirot. Behind him is Philip Goglock and Alex Hartvig in the Allied Racing Porsche. Daniel Gregor behind him. Oh, that's Stefan Bastanciev. A great view of him and the Overdrive Racing Porsche driver, along with co-pilot Pavel Lefterov, who just say they have had no luck this year. Have been contenders on so many occasions, but for incidents and reliability issues, both in this and in the GT4 European Series. Certainly in this series, have struggled to get into the points some of the times. Only 2 points finishes this year so far. But Stefan saying yesterday, yeah, I've got the car dialed in. Yes, we've got a good, reliable setup. Yes, I think we can move forwards from there. Well, these are challenging conditions to be moving forwards. And in that 14th place ahead of him, he can see Daniel Gregor also in the Porsche. So what can he do about Daniel Gregor? Hartvig is there as well. Bastanciev never scared to get stuck in and go for a gap. That's exactly what he does. Gregor coming faster round the outside with that quicker outside line. But Bastanciev just sticking with it now onto the inside. The inside becomes the outside. Gregor still holding on. The two cars rubbing. Bastanciev, he doesn't want to back out of that one, does he? He does, briefly. And in so doing, he lets through Max Wimmer. So it's 3 Porsches fighting with each other. So Bastanciev's attempts to get up into 13th place has actually relegated him down into 15th. Behind them is Patrick Steinmetz in the Mercedes, also looking to move forwards. So Bastanciev just showing how tricky it is out there. Now to the inside of Wimmer goes Bastanciev, and having to do to Wimmer what he was trying to do to Daniel Gregor just now, but for a lesser place. So the Overdrive Racing Porsche, great view out of the window, great perspective, and just showing us how tricky it is there. Really close start from Stefan. Again, looking for the gap on the inside now, heading up towards 10 and 11. Turn 11 here, around they go. He's got that line on the inside. Along the pit straight they come. Now, the 24 car is going to have the better line going into turn 1. You can see Bastanciev just glancing to the side. You can see how much he's concentrating. This is the critical bit now, under braking into the corner. Bastanciev on the inside. Wimmer has the faster line on the outside, but Bastanciev gets the thing slowed down. Now Wimmer coming back and steaming around on that faster line, but Bastanciev has the inside line on turn 2. Wimmer going very deep into the corner. Bastanciev gets the job done, and he retakes that position. Now Wimmer falling into the clutches of Patrick Steinmetz in the Mercedes, but job done for Stefan Bastanciev. Now further back, and a little bit of contact between the number 13 and the number 34. So Celia Martin and also Nico Handke, so the two cars getting together. Looks like they're able to continue. Doesn't look like there's too much damage. But in these conditions, it really is a brave move trying to get past. Now, car 75, that's Daniel Gregor, has been shown a black and white flag for forcing another car off the track. And that would have been Stefan Bastanciev. So the stewards deciding that he was maybe a little bit too robust in his defense. We've been looking at the battle for 5th place. Denis Bulatov in 5th. Jan-Philipp Springhoff in the Mercedes behind him. So Mercedes versus Mercedes. It is 3 Aston Martins leading the way at the moment. So the Aston Martins very dialed in, ahead of David Yarn in the Porsche. So Hugo Sasser across the line is 1.3 seconds. So not enjoying the advantage that he had before the stoppage, but still enough at the moment, as long as he doesn't make any issues, doesn't make any mistakes, allowing Ben Dorr in. A reminder, Article 39.2, pit stop time when changing tyres. I'll need to get my rulebook out to confirm that, but when it's wet weather, tyre changes and minimum pit stop times are all up in the air. So when the pit window opens in 3.5 minutes, we will see who comes in for a tyre change and who stays out. It is Hugo Sasser leading the way, 1.3 seconds over Ben Dorr. And still, Raphael Renhofer in third place. Such a good and mature drive from him. David Yarn solid up into fourth. Bulatov ahead of Springop. And this battle continuing on. So Stefan Bostanchiev and Patrick Steinmetz. So Steinmetz has dispatched Max Wimmer and is now closing in on Stefan Bostanchiev. And again, Bostanchiev, well, we had that shot inside the car. We can see how hard he is concentrating and how hard he's having to work in the number 23 overdrive Porsche. And he has got something very different behind him. You can see the dry line on the track. The driver's on the wet weather tyres, taking to the wet part of the track. Now, who is on the slick tyres? That is the question. Well, we don't know, but we'll probably find out by the progress that is able to be made. Bostanchiev in that 14th place. Clearly on the wet weather tyres as he ducks off to try and find the puddles. And there is Patrick Steinmetz looking around the outside. Through the puddles they come. I would think that Steinmetz is probably on the wet weather tyres too. Some great shots over the chicane here. And the car's getting a bit of air. We measure them in distance and altitude. And Cedric Pirot going the wrong side of the bollard, just getting it all wrong. When you hit those curves wrong, it projects the car upwards and onwards, and also creates an opportunity to actually mess it all up. And the getting over that chicane is very, very critical. Black and white flag has been shown to car 26. That's Christian Koch for pushing car 5. And that is Leon Wasserthurer. So here we come then. Hugo Sasser leading the way. We are less than 2 minutes away from the pit window opening. And during that 10-minute window, we will see who comes in when. You can see confirmation of the fastest lap. So second place, Ben Dorr, who has reduced the gap to 9/10 of a second to race leader Hugo Sasser. Ben Dorr really looking to get his championship challenge back on track along with Théo Noé. The quickest car on the track. He set that lap on the last time round, lap 12. And it was a 1:43.986. So they are running some 11 seconds a lap slower than they were in qualifying this morning. So Ben Dorr, very much the man on the move. The rest of the cars behind is Raphael Renhofer, David Yarn, and Denis Bulatov ahead of Jan Philipp Springhob. So along the pit straight they come, finding the puddles now, trying to cool those tyres down. And looking at the line of cars coming down, I would suggest that everybody is on those wet tyres. David Yarn having a little look on the inside, heading in to turn 1. David Yarn, who is such an experienced driver, looking at the back of a driver who is just starting on his long journey in a GT4. But Yarn's look has opened the door to Denis Bulatov. Bulatov did have a little peek on the inside. Around turn 2 they come, getting nice and close to the BCMC Motorsport powered by Eastside Motorsport Mercedes. Bulatov and Lenez winning last time out at Zandvoort. And Bulatov having his first ever win. To remind you that we have a success ballast that the drivers are carrying, and that Mercedes has 15 kilos of additional ballast as a result of winning last time out. And I would suggest that in these slippery conditions, that ballast would not be as much of a disadvantage as it might be in the dry. And to the inside of David Yarn he goes. There's a bit of contact, and David Yarn goes spinning. So the stewards will look at that. The Porsche, oh, and it's crawling out of the corner. Drivers having to take evading action. It looks like that car is crabbing to me. Looks like there might be some damage. Now, this will be very significant because if the stewards decide, oh, safety car is out. So, safety car out. And David Yarn, well, it looked like he was crabbing. It might just been him getting on the power. So he gets back up and running. So we've got a safety car out at the moment. I'm just looking to see if there's anybody stranded out on track. There isn't anybody. The pit window is open. So any drivers who come into the pits now, when it's behind the safety car, will gain an advantage because the cars obviously are going significantly slower than they would be under racing speed. So I would expect the majority of the field to suddenly come in. Whatever the strategy was beforehand, the drivers now rushing into the pits for their mandatory stop and driver change. You can see tyres coming out as well, ready to change. So that's Daniel Gregor we're looking at in the number 75 car. He's handing over to Finn Zulauf. And you can see there is slick tyres ready. Now, let's have a look here. To the inside went Bulatov into the corner. He had a couple of wheels onto the curb. Now, whether Yarn tried to shut the door on him, we can't really see from that angle. And it looks like there might have been a tyre that went down on the Yarn car as well. And yeah, it looks to me like that is a deflated right rear. This is the view from Bulatov. This will give us a better look. So there was a gap there. He hit the curb. And it looked to me like David Yarn was possibly a bit optimistic in closing the door on the car. But we will see. There is that shredded tyre as he makes his way back to the pits. Right, Bastanchiev into the pits, handing over to his teammate and good friend and mentor, Pavel Lefterov, whom he's been with. This is his third year with him in the ADAC GT4 Germany. And that is, well, I thought it was a sticking wheel nut, but it is just a lengthy business undoing the wheel nuts on these cars. So the teams are setting to work. There's a limit to how many mechanics are allowed to work on the car at any one time. 2 mechanics are allowed to actually work on the car. So still remaining out is Hugo Sassa at the moment. Safety car has come back in. So I'm very surprised that Sassa and Dur did not pit while they were behind the safety car. And maybe it's just caught some of the teams a little bit off guard. We're back under green flag conditions. So now Sassa coming under attack from Ben Dur. The rest of the fields, most of the cars now coming into the pits for their mandatory stop and driver change and possibly wheel change as well. All coming to a stop, but this is going to really scramble the field up because we had some behind the safety car, some not. There are very few cars that haven't pitted so far, but the top 6 cars are still out on track at the moment. There comes Pavel Lefterov, who took over from Stefan Bastanchiev. And it looks like the number 12 car, Robin Falkenbach, who's taken over from Cedric Pirro. The Wimmer Werk number 24 car, that's Max Wimmer, handing over to Eric Scalvini, the driver that we saw. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon, Leo Pichler. Now, that one went under the radar. It was Scalvini who was originally entered into that car, but it's Leo Pichler who is now taking the wheel of the Wimmer Werk Porsche. We've still got a little under 6 minutes left of the pit window, and our leaders, well, surely, are they going to come in yet? Well, they must be leaving it till late in the window, but you can see Ben Dur now onto Hugo Sassa in the lead. Hugo Sassa trying to make that Aston Martin as wide as possible, bumping across the curbs, a bit of a slide there. Is that an opportunity? But Ben Dur, who was the fastest man on the track, peels off into the pit lane. Denis Bulatov, who is now the fastest man on the track, is the fastest on lap 13, moves to the inside. And it is Denis Bulatov who finds a route past Hugo Sassa. We have a new race leader. Now, the incident between him and David Yarn is under investigation. So Denis Bulatov taking the lead of this race. Hugo Sassa not really putting up too much of a fight. Behind them is Nicola Moller-Madsen. So cars sliding left, right and centre in these tricky conditions still, but Denis Bulatov having to work really hard just to keep it on the tarmac. We've got to have our wits about us here because we've got some of the cars that are lapped, some that are not, some that are on slicks and some that are not. There is Ben Dur, who in the Dur Motorsport Aston Martin, handing over to Teo Noe. It is wet tyres on that car still. So clearly the team deciding that it's wet tyres all the way to the flag, still greasy out there. So Ben Deur just helping Teo Noe to get buckled up and plugged in. And you can see him working with the driver. So Hugo Sasa, who was our race leader, into second place. We're looking there at the number 8 car. That's Rodrigo Almeida in the BWT MX Motorsport Mercedes, who took over from Josef Knopp. Ahead of them is car 19, and that is Raphael Renhofer, who's now handed over to Leon Erger. So, new driver behind the wheel of the number 19 car after the pit stop. What a baptism of fire for Leon Erger, who is making his debut in ADAC GT4 Germany and having to fight really hard in that 10th place. Gosh, the cars are scrambled up and down the pack as a result of the pit stops, of the tyre changes. But this is a fight. Rodrigo Almeida and Leon Erger in the number 19 car doing a great job defending. He's 22 years old. This is his real motor racing debut, having come from sim racing. He's coached by Mike David Ortman, who's also in the Pro Sport Motorsport car, who is sharing duties with Hugo Sasa, who was our race leader. But Leon Erger, for his motor racing debut, his real-world motor racing debut, doing a fantastic job fighting off the attention of Rodrigo Almeida, who has joined the ADAC GT4 Germany this year. Another young pilot, one of the up-and-coming superstars in GT racing. And it is the number 19 car that holds on to that 10th place at the moment. Ahead of them is Simon Conner-Prim. He's well ahead of them. Behind them is Finn Zulauf. So Almeida putting his experience to good use. He looks to the outside and he tucks back to the inside and ducks back. And still challenging for that position. No, through the chicane. It's not often that's a place you'd see a position change. Trying to monster Erger into a mistake and not succeeding at that. Around into turn 11. Now onto the pit straight. You can see how much the drivers are fighting with the wheel. Now this is Teo Noe, who has come under pressure, and it is from the 85 car. So Teo Noe under pressure from Simon Conner-Prim. So Sasa is into the pits. Teo Noe under pressure from the car behind and fighting in these conditions. This is the one that we have been following. Rodrigo Almeida finally finds a route past Erger. Leon Erger fighting back though. Great stuff here. So still Dennis Bolotov and Nicola Moller-Madsen yet to pit. Here is Hugo Sasa handing over to Mike David Ortman. Ortman is into the car. So it doesn't look like they are going to be going on to slick tyres. We just take a look. No, they're staying on the wet tyres. So only 3 cars left to pit. They're going to have to do it this time around because the pit window is about to close. Dennis Bolotov is our current race leader. Nicola Moller-Madsen in second, both yet to pit. Hugo Sasa at the front of that queue. Philip Gogolok in the number 20 car, also into the pits. So we wait to see where they come out in relation to, oh, what a shame, Rodrigo Almeida, after all that hard work, losing it, backs it into the barrier. He's able to keep it running and rejoins the race. Now, let's keep an eye on this. Simon Conner-Prim, I told you he was good. He's got past Teo Noe. This is Mike David Ortman waiting to go. Has to be careful not to hit the pit exit before the clock strikes 0. Now, where is Simon Conner-Prim? Well, there is Teo Noe. I think here's Simon Conner-Prim now in towards turn 1. Mike David Ortman hits the accelerator, but he's gonna struggle to get past. He takes a different line in as Simon Conner-Prim in front at the moment. Teo Noe also gonna try and get past Mike David Ortman. The pit window is closed. Everybody either has or is pitting, but Mike David Ortman, well, he's done a good job there actually just to keep Teo Noe behind. But it's Simon Conner-Prim who will potentially be in the lead of this race, depending on where Denis Bulatov, or indeed Marcel Lenez, who's taken over from him, comes out. You can see the rain is coming down again, so anybody who did go onto slick tyres is going to have to come back in for wet weather tyres. There is Bulatov handing over to Marcel Lenez in the pouring rain. What a challenging way to take over the seat of that car. You can see the clock ticking down. They want to hit the line exactly when the clock strikes 0. That would be the perfect pit stop, but as already mentioned, you don't want to go below that. That's another car going wide. Tano Neumann, who took over from Joachim Bolting, just struggling in these conditions. The rain continues to come down. Anybody on slicks now would have to come in for wet weather tyres. Penalty lap for car 5 for track limits. But we're keeping an eye on this fight at the moment. Mike David Ortmann, who is an experienced GT racer, fighting off the attentions of the 007 Teo Noe car. And Mike David Ortmann holds on to that position. Now, what can he do about Simon Conoprim, who leads the way in the Mercedes? And where will Marcel Lenez come out in comparison? Well, here is Marcel Lenez. He's on the move. He comes out to the pit exit. Here's Simon Conoprim. Prim is past. Is Ortmann going to do it? I don't think he is. Also there, the car that Moller Madsen has handed over to Ivan Ekelschik in the number 6 car, so he is in there as well. But it is Teo Noe who gets past Ekelschik and holds on to that position. So with the pit stops done and dusted, the pit window closed, it is Simon Conoprim in the number 85 car who took over from Jan-Philipp Springhoff, who leads the way from Marcel Lenez and Denis Bulatov. So Mike David Ortmann dropping back into that 3rd place. So Lenez did find the route past. Mike David Ortmann in 4th. Wow, this is taking a bit of following, isn't it? Teo Noe into 4th, Ortmann in 3rd, and Ekelschik in 5th place. So there you go. You can see 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th all running together. Simon Conoprim a little way up the road. It was 3.1 seconds last time we looked. You can see the rain on the camera lens, and that just proves that anybody who did take the gamble on slick tyres will be struggling big time now. So there is our race leader in the traffic, Simon Conoprim in the CV Performance Group Mercedes. Very much a championship contender, well ahead of 2nd place Marcel Lenez, who has David Ortmann behind him, who is being challenged by Teo Noe, who does a bit of drifting around turn 11. Car 86 has a penalty lap for a pit stop infringement. That's such a shame for Ryland Gray, who's taken over from Brock Gilchrist. It means that they have contravened the rules somewhere along the way in the pit stop, so that'll drop them down the order. I want to look at the timing screen, but I don't want to take my eyes off this fighting that's going on here, because it is edge of the seat stuff. We've got lapped cars mixed in as well. We've got the rain coming down, threading the eye of a needle, and it is Simon Conoprim who's in the lead. Marcel Lenez, Mike David Ortmann now under pressure. Teo Noe trying to go around 3 abreast around the 26 car that's back marking. And also in there as well, Ivan Ekelschik in the number 6 car. But still, Mike David Ortmann holds on to that 3rd place at the moment. He needs to keep the thing on the track. If he ends up in the gravel trap, it will be a disaster for the championship challenge. And Teo Noe knows that. He's got nothing to lose here, throwing caution to the wind. Car 35, Enzo Giuli, who took over from Sami Matitrogan, also has a penalty lap for a pit stop infringement. And there is a spinner. The Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW turns around in the wrong direction. And that has Tim Reiter at the wheel. So he rejoins. Manages to keep it out of the barrier. So this is the fight for 3rd place. Mike David Ortmann, Teo Noe monstering him all the way. Being careful not to get it wrong, especially on those slippery curbs. Now into turn 11, Noe taking a much wider stance into the corner. Mike David Ortmann, though, along the pit straight they come. Is he going to make a move into the corner? It's going to be pretty brave to do it under braking. Simon Conoprim having to weave his way through so much traffic in front of him. get the thing slowed down. He's on the wide outside, keep it on the track now, ducking back through. He's worked his way around quite a few of the back markers. He's still got one BMW. He gets out of the way, very cooperative indeed. Simon Conoprim continues on his way, 3.5 seconds ahead of Marcel Lenez, who in turn is 1.9 seconds ahead of Mike David Ortmann and Teo Noe. This is the fight of the Aston Martins, and which way is this going to go? Mike David Ortmann, who we've seen in ADAC GT Masters as well at times over the years, has a lot of experience, and he's having to put that to good use in these slippery conditions. Still tiptoeing their way through the back markers. This is the view on board with 007, Teo Noe. What has he got up his sleeve to claim the last of the podium positions? Currently in the hands of Mike David Ortmann. Into the pits comes Fabian Volvend. That is a real shame. A puncture on that car, the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin. And it doesn't look like there's any particular hurry to get that wheel changed. So this fight carries on. The battle for third place. Right. Anything that we need to have a look at? Well, it is Simon Conoprim leads the way. Marcel Lenez, Mike David Ortmann, Teo Noe, Ivan Ekelschik, Ferdinand Winter ahead of Erger and Shaq and Almeida and Sokolovsky. Good job from Yevgen Sokolovsky, who has been running with Damon Sazishin. They started last on the grid and have mastered these conditions. So the fight for third place continues. We've got less than 18 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race. It is a race that has thrown everything at these drivers and really has mixed the field up. But it's Mike David Ortmann. You can see how the gap has been evolving over the last few laps. How Teo Noe has reeled in Mike David Ortmann. But reeling him in is one thing, actually getting past is another. And 007 is struggling to find a route past the near identical Aston Martin that is ahead of him. And ahead of them, Marcel Lenez. So I mentioned Yevgen Sokolovsky, the Ukrainian driver in the number 48 car. That is a fantastic run with him and Damon Sazushin. They are in the Trophy Championship, and they are the leading trophy runner at the moment. Of course, we have the Trophy Championship. We also have a Junior Championship as well. But great stuff from the number 48 car. So things settling down just a little bit at the moment. Enzo Julie has had to serve his penalty. Car 31 under investigation for a pit stop time, so this could be significant. That is David Yarn and Janis Fitcher. Janis Fitcher, who's taken over from David Yarn, doesn't look to have come out of the pit stop sequence very well. They were running in the top 5, now in 19th place, so the pit stops have not worked in their favour at all, so they're out of the points already. And if there's a penalty, that will cement that position. Simon Conoprim leads the way, 5.7 seconds over Marcel Lenez. Mike David Ortmann is there in third place, still working through the traffic. There's Marcel Lenez in the gold, black and white Mercedes, championship leader, to remind you, and a points haul would be very much appreciated here. To remind you also, they're carrying 15 kilograms of success penalty. Also carrying a penalty is car 34, 10 kilograms on account of finishing second last time out. And David Yarn and Janis Fitcher car, the number 31, carrying 5 kilograms on account of finishing third last time around. Well, Janis Fitcher will be pleased to know there's no further action on the pit stop time. They've investigated, decided that all was in order. So as you were, but Janis Fitcher down in 19th place and out of the points. So came out of that pit stop sequence in not a great place at all. I do wonder whether they put slick tires onto that car or not. And that is the car, as you were, stand by your beds. Car 8, well, we saw him having traumas earlier on, and the car 8 of Josef Knopp, then Rodrigo Almeida. And has that been? Yes, it has been another incident. So the yellows are waving for car 8. That's up on turn 2. Looks like He's out of harm's way, so we shouldn't, hopefully, need any kind of safety car. And look at Marcel Lenez hustling that Mercedes over the curbs. Mike David Altman keeping him in sight and fending off Teo Noe at the same time. And they've taken a couple of seconds out of Simon Connor-Prim as they cross the line. Let's look at it this time. So Simon Connor-Prim, 7.2. So during one of the interval sectors, it looked like they're taking a couple of seconds out, but that has now returned back to the 7 seconds. So Simon Connor-Prim very much in control, but he does need to keep it all on the track in these slippery conditions. It looks as though Josef Knopp has exited the car, the number 8 car. So he is to safety. So now, Mike David Altman up with Marcel Lenez, challenging the Mercedes. Now, can he make a move for second place and do it without letting Teo Noe in? Teo Noe, who's pretty experienced in GT4 racing, poised and ready to pounce if there is any opportunity at all. So Mike David Altman having to draw on all of his experience to see if he can find a route past Marcel Lenez. As far as I can see, the rain has stopped, so the track may well start to dry out again in the closing stages of this race. But Mike David Altman working his way around the outside of Marcel Lenez and really just out-dragging him around the corner. To remind you, the number 4 car is carrying that success ballast, so that might have had something to do with it. But Mike David Altman now up into that second position. And now Lenez coming under pressure from Teo Noe. So getting shuffled down the order. The points leading car, number 4, Marcel Lenez, along with Denis Bolotov, looking to lose podium positions. If Teo Noe can get past, he will be shuffled off the podium. Out of turn 11, you can see the dry line starting to appear once again. Along the pit straight they come, picking up a slipstream. Now, which way is Noe going to go into turn 1? He looks to the outside, the faster outside line into the corner, but he ducks back to the inside. And you can see the car snaking under braking. Lenez leaving it to the last possible minute. Noe trying to switch back to the inside. We look past the stricken number 8 car to see what we can see. And we can see Teo Noe on the outside. And Marcel Lenez doing a bit of drifting. He's giving it absolutely everything. The car slides, he corrects it. But still, Lenez holds on to that position. Now, Teo Noe finds the route pass and into third place. Lenez isn't done yet, though. He's trying to fight back on the outside. But it does look like Teo Noe has finally wrestled that third place away from Marcel Lenez. It is advantage Aston Martin, and Marcel Lenez is staring at the back of the Teo Noe car. Now, can he mount an assault to retake that position? Well, remains to be seen. Now, car 85 has a penalty lap. Our race leader, Simon Connor-Prim, has a penalty lap for an unsafe release from the pits. The stewards have been looking at it, so our race leader is going to have to visit the penalty box. Now, he could potentially get away with this. He's going to have to get into the penalty box. He'll have to reduce his speed. He will lose something in the region of 5 seconds going through the penalty box. But Simon Connor-Prim, our race leader, he's 8 seconds ahead of Mike David Altman. He'll have to reduce his speed to 50 kilometers an hour when he passes through the 200-meter penalty box, and he'll have to do it pretty soon. He has 1 lap in which he has to serve that penalty. So Simon Connor-Prim will keep one eye on that, and what can Mike David Altman do about our race leader? Further challenges further back. The AD6 car now down in 23rd place with Ryland Gray at the wheel. It really has been a challenging fight for them in this, their first race in ADAC GT4 Germany. So the penalty lap has flashed up on the timing screen. I'm still waiting to see whether Simon Connor-Prim takes it or has taken it. We're looking at the fights further back through the pack. Mike David Altman is 8.2 seconds behind our race leader, Simon Connor-Prim. So we'll wait to see what happens there. Taonaway in that third place now, having dropped a couple of seconds back from Mike David Ortman. Marcel Lanez in that fourth place. So where is our race leader? He is up around turn 8 at the moment. So he hasn't taken the penalty lap yet because the gap is still 8.2 seconds. Second place, Mike David Ortman. There is your third place driver, Taonaway, kind of falling back a bit now from Ortman, and Marcel Lanez in that fourth place. So the penalty lap still stays on our timing screens. There is the confirmation of it on the graphic. So he needs to take it pretty soon, and he's coming into turn 1 now, so we will see whether he takes that or not. Well, the gap has dropped down to 4.7 seconds, so he may well have taken it already. He holds on to that lead. So Simon Conner-Prim lives to fight another day on account of the fact he had a massive gap over Mike David Ortman in second place. But Mike David Ortman now showing as 4.7 seconds behind. So I think that Simon Conner-Prim has taken that penalty lap when he was off camera. He still holds on to the lead. High drama indeed. There is Mike David Ortman, pulling away a bit from Taonaway. It was 1.9 seconds the last time they crossed the start-finish line. Marcel Lanez in a solid fourth. Now, there's a lot of fights for the minor places further back, and that is the Allied Racing number 22 car going spinning off. Nathan Schaap at the wheel. He was in 13th place. Currently showing in 15th, so lost a couple of places, and it was contact with the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW that caused that to happen. I think it was Gabriel, might have been Gabriel Piana, who was at the wheel of that car. So here comes our race leader. It looks as though he has taken his penalty. If he hasn't, then he's made a very big mistake because the gap has come down, but he still holds on to that race lead. We've got 7.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. You're looking down at Mike David Ortman in the number 1 car, defending champion. And yes, you can see he has Simon Conner-Prim very much in his sights. The gap is 5.2 seconds. The 34 car is a lap down. 007 in third, Marcel Lanez in car 4 in fourth, and Ivan Ekoshik in 5th place. A good solid drive from him ahead of Ferdinand Winter in 84 in 6th place. The number 19 car of Leon Erger in the Pro Sport Racing car in his debut. A solid job having taken over from Raphael Renhofer. Currently holding on to 7th place ahead of Dominic Schack. Yevgen Sokolovsky now up into 9th place ahead of Pavel Lefterov, who's taken over from Stefan Bastancio. So good, solid driving in the top 10 as we continue to watch Taonaway running pretty well unchallenged at the moment. It's the back-marking 34 car who is behind him. The 34 car with Mex Janssen at the wheel, currently showing in 20th place. So that's significant because coming into this race, he and co-driver Nico Hanke were in 2nd place in the points. Gonna struggle to get any points at all in this race with a little over 6 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. The drivers with the wet weather tyres looking for the puddles, keeping those tyres cool because those tyres will start to fall apart if they get overheated. Now, car number 1 has been shown a black and white flag for more than 1 change of direction. Mike David Ortman in 2nd place has a warning from the stewards for more than 1 change of direction. It is just a warning at the moment, but he can't just keep changing directions when defending his position. Taonaway has him still very much in sight, and this fight for 2nd place is far from over. I think Simon Conner-Prim looking pretty comfortable in that lead position. But you can see the cars sliding as they head up into turn 2. Change of surface as they head up in towards turn 2, and it's pretty slippery up there. So Taonaway 1.116 seconds behind Mike David Ortman the last time they crossed the line. And that gap continues to come down again. So 10 away, having been with Mike David Ortman, then dropped back, now looking to close in again. It might be about tyres here. It might be who has taken the most out of the tyres early on in the race. Less than 5 minutes remaining. It's still Simon Conner-Prim, the driver who, along with Maximilian Paul, had a third place in the GT Masters, the mighty GT3 cars here at this circuit 3 weeks ago today. Now in the GT4 car, trying to get his championship challenge back on track in the best possible position to do that, leading the way by nearly 5 seconds over this fight here. Mike David Ortman weaving through the traffic. Looked like Yevgen Sokolovsky that they may have just gone past. Into turn 11 once again. Now, is Noé close enough to do anything about it? Along the pit straight they come. There will be a slipstream that is picked up as they head towards turn 1. This is the main overtaking opportunity of the race. To the inside goes Théo Noé, then ducks back to the outside. You can see Ortman just snaking, really playing with the brake pedal. Now into turn 1, there's a gap on the inside, back, hard on the accelerator, then into turn 2. Mike David Ortman holding on, Théo Noé taking a wider line, trying everything around the outside. 3.5 minutes remaining still. Mike David Ortman holds on to that second place. Can he keep this up for another 3.5 minutes plus 1 lap? There's a lap car in front of him. That looks like Tano Neumann, who is there, moves out of the way, and very cooperative indeed. Mike David Ortman through Théo Noé, following in his wake. Now, just a little over 3 minutes remaining. This fight for second place. Marcel Lenez hovering in the background, ready, because if these two get together, there may well still be a podium up for grabs. The rain is holding off at the moment. Less than 3 minutes remaining, plus 1 lap. Simon Conner-Prim leading the way by just over 5 seconds. But this is the fight for second and third place. Mike David Ortman, defending champion, along with co-driver Hugo Sasser in the ADAC GT4 Germany. In second place, Théo Noé, 007, with co-driver Ben Durr in third place. Monstering him all the way that he can. Here's our leader out onto the pit straight. You can see how the track is drying out. Here comes second, here comes third. A long way ahead of Marcel Lenez. In towards turn 1 they come. Théo Noé, the French driver who finished second in the 2021 ADAC GT4 Germany Championship. Frustrated this year, has not gone as well as it might have done, but looking for his first podium of the year, along with co-driver Ben Durr. Looking good for the podium. Question is, which step? Still, Mike David Ortman holding on. Coming up to 90 seconds plus 1 lap of this race remaining. Simon Conner-Prim, well, he's out of sight. He'll be happy about that. Leaving this battle behind him. Ortman now trying to make that Aston Martin as wide as possible. They head around towards turn 6 and then out towards turn 7. This is the part of the track where the challenging driver starts to think about lining up, getting a good entry and a good exit on the Vidal chicane. And if you can get out of the chicane well and into turn 11, then you have the opportunity to get a run in towards turn 1. But time is running out for Théo Noé. Mike David Ortman doing all the right stuff. Now this is the Vidal chicane. Noé a little way back. They bump over the curbs. Out of turn 10, now into the long, sweeping right-hander that is turn 11. You can see Mike David Ortman using all of the curb. Now the car just sliding slightly. A good exit from Théo Noé out of the corner, out onto the pit straight they come. 30 seconds plus 1 lap of this race remaining. out towards turn 1. It's going to be under braking. Is Noe going to duck to the outside or to the inside? He looks to the inside. Ortmann goes to defend the position. Remember, he can't keep changing direction. He has the line. He takes it nice and deep into the corner. Noe switches back to the inside. The inside becomes the outside. Sliding around turn 2. Still, Mike David Ortmann holding on to that second place. The clock is about to strike 0. Our race leader is up in turn 4 at the moment, so it'll be about a lap and 3/4 for Simon Conner-Prim to bring this home. But the fights for second and third very much alive. Tao Noe, how desperate is he going to be to move up a step on the podium? Well, we're going to find out within the next lap and a half or so. Mike David Ortmann driving as defensively as he can. You get the feeling the tyres on that Aston Martin are absolutely shot. Still, Tao Noe continues to hassle him. You can see the back end sliding on both cars as they fight their way around turn 7. And now, the far section of the track. It's a turn 8 that's taken flat out up towards turn 9, the Vidal chicane. And this will be the penultimate time through the chicane for Noe and Mike David Ortmann. Remember, Ortmann, a championship challenger, defending champion. He needs to make sure that he gets points. He cannot afford a non-finish. A non-finish will take him out of the championship hunt, so he needs to bring this one home. Simon Conner-Prim about to start his lap. His last lap of the race. There he is, Simon Conner-Prim. He crosses the line. Here comes Mike David Ortmann, 5.7 seconds. So Prim has got everything under control. But Ortmann has to just do it one more time. The final lap of the race. Tao Noe not challenging hard into turn 1. He's taken a much slower line into turn 1, then trying to get to the inside now into turn 2. Ortmann going deep into the corner. Noe tracking him all the way through that. Now, out they come in towards turn 3. This is the part of the track where overtaking is most certainly not an option unless the car in front makes a mistake. But Noe will be lining himself up for one last challenge as they head out of turn 7 and out towards the chicane. But time is running out for Tao Noe if he wants that second step of the podium. Simon Conner-Prim well ahead still. This, the fight for second place, has been raging on for so long, drawing on all of the skill of both of these drivers. Both have been doing racing for a number of years, both experienced drivers, and it's advantage Mike David Ortmann at the moment. There goes Simon Conner-Prim through the bottom of your picture. Simon Conner-Prim out towards the chicane for the very last time. It'll be a quick left and a quick right, but this is the fight for second place. What can Tao Noe do? I think he has now run out of options. Here comes Simon Conner-Prim in towards turn 11. He's done everything right, along with Jan-Philipp Springhoff out of turn 11 onto the pit straight. It is Simon Conner-Prim and Jan-Philipp Springhoff who win race 5 of the season. And it's going to be Mike David Ortmann and Hugo Sasser who just beat Tao Noe and Ben Dur into that second place. Brilliant stuff, great driving. The CV Performance Group, they are back, and they are back in style. They won the season opener at Oschersleben. They also got a 7th place, but a fairly disastrous Zandvoort saw them finish 13th and 9th, but back to the top step of the podium. Their championship is well and truly back on track. And it is Simon Conner-Prim and Jan-Philipp Springhoff who steal the headlines here at the Nürburgring. But credit to Mike David Ortmann and Hugo Sasser for holding off under immense pressure from Tao Noe and Ben Dur. Great stuff. Also, Marcel Lenez and Denis Bolotov, our championship leaders coming into this race, who come home in 4th place. To remind you, the 1, 2, 3 will carry a success ballast tomorrow. So it'll be 15, 10 and 5 kilograms for the 1, 2, 3. But they won't mind about that because Simon Conner-Prim and Jan-Philipp Springhoff are back on the top step of the podium here at the Nürburgring. What a race. Well, it's been a bit of a marathon. We had the red flag that saw things come to a stop. We've had safety cars, we've had rain, we've had all sorts of drama. And it is Connor Prim and Springhob who come out on top. You can see rain on the lens of the camera, so I think the weather hasn't had the final say today either. Tomorrow's forecast is looking decidedly iffy as well. And how wonderful is that? The heart symbol, the universally recognized heart, being awarded by Jan-Philipp Springhob to Simon Connor Prim. And it is the chemistry between these drivers. We said it before, there is Jan-Philipp Springhob. You can see how much it means. It is the chemistry between these drivers. You have to work together for a setup and to bring it home. There is confirmation, 34 action-packed laps. Jan-Philipp Springhob, Simon Connor Prim for CV Performance, Hugo Sasser, Mike David Orban, Ben Durr, a turn away, running out the 1, 2, 3. Dennis Bulatov, Marcel Lanez in fourth, ahead of Nicola Moller-Madsen and Ivan Ekelashik. And the rest of them scrolling through. Patrick Steinmetz and Ferdinand Winter were in sixth place. Great stuff for car number 19, Raphael Renhofer and Leon Erger on their debut in GT4 racing, coming home in seventh place. And in those conditions, well, that is going to feel like a win for them in the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin, ahead of Dominic Schack and Philip Gogelok in eighth place. It was Pavel Lefterov and Stefan Bostanchiev in ninth place, and that's actually, would you believe, their best result of the season. And 10th going, very good job, Yevgen Sokolovsky, and he was sharing duties with Damon Sazishin, and that is a cracking result for them. So congratulations are all around. There is Hugo Sasser, and there is Simon Connor Prim, fresh from his excursion in the GT Masters, along with Jan-Philipp Springhob. But this is where his attention is this year. This is where he wants to be. And there you can see the points championship. So Bulatov and Lanez remain at the top, but now it's Simon Connor Prim and Jan-Philipp Springhob who jump up into second place. Our defending champions, Mike David Orman and Hugo Sasser, another driver combination that have been together for a number of years. They know how each other think. And there is the third place, Teo Noe and Ben Durr. Great to have them together. So good to see the 007 car on the podium for Durr Motorsport. It has been a tough old year, as already mentioned. It was Teo Noe who damaged an oil cooler and did a lot of damage to the car at Oschersleben, was unable to even start the second race of the season, and then Zandvoort was pretty unspectacular as well. But we know they are both proven winners in GT4 racing, both proven superstars, and back on the podium where they rightfully should be. There is a lovely slow-mo of the Durr Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage GT4 007. License to thrill, ha ha ha. Bumping across the curves of the chicane. And there, the second place car, the defending champions. That's why they wear the number 1 on the door. Hugo Sasser, Mike David Orman looking to become the first driver pairing to successfully defend a GT4 Germany championship, going the right way about it. But Simon Connor Prim and Jan-Philipp Springhob are back in the hunt for CV Performance in the Mercedes AMG. So there is Simon Connor Prim. After a hard afternoon of work, they had everything thrown at them, including a red flag, full course yellows, safety cars, tyre changes, rain, you name it. And the reward, well, some lovely trophies and some even more lovely points in their championship hunt. They are back in it. Their heads had dropped after Zandvoort, but this is exactly the tonic they needed. There's Ben Durr and Teo Noe onto the podium. The Frenchman and the German together. Hugo Sasser, Mike David Ortman. It would be so weird to see them partnered with another driver. You associate them together nowadays. Such a good combination. But the top step of the podium, Simon Connor Prim and Jan Philip Springhobbs for CV Performance Group. And CV Performance will also have a representative on the podium as well to receive a trophy. And it's national anthem time. There we go, it was the 7-inch remix of the national anthem. We've got a busy schedule here. We're all running behind as a result of that red flag earlier on. Beautiful trophies being awarded. Get the feeling that won't be the last trophies they receive this season. I should think that Hugo Sasser and Mike David Orman have probably got a warehouse full of trophies by now. Seldom a weekend goes past where they don't pick up something. And welcome back to the podium, Théo Noé and Ben Dur receiving their third-place trophies. CV Performance, great team, receiving their trophy as well. Started in this series last year and have been going from strength to strength with team boss Christian Voss leading the team to victory and championship challenges here at the Nürburgring. That was race 5. Look at the points standings. How close is it? We have no pre-season favourites now. It could go any way at all. We're going to get to do it all again tomorrow. The forecast says it might be a little bit damp again. It will be the halfway point of the season after race 6 tomorrow here at the Nürburgring. And the winning 1, 2, 3 will be carrying success ballast. But this season could go anyway. One thing is for sure, that tomorrow it may well be a completely different scenario with the result. Such is the way that GT4 operates. It's qualifying tomorrow morning and the race tomorrow afternoon in the ADAC GT4 Germany. And then we are at the halfway point of the season. It has been thoroughly entertaining. It's been a wet one. It's been a dramatic one. It is classic ADAC GT4 Germany. Join us for more tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.